Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us today to learn more about AI use cases that could help you and your organization. A quick introduction. My name is Ryan Deal, and I'm with Expedient. Expedient is a cloud, data center, and AI company. So before we jump in today's topic, maybe a quick show of hands. Actually, you don't have to raise your hand, but who has recently emailed, called, or teamed HR with an inquiry? I don't know who my dental insurance provider is or about any company benefits, like where's my 401k plan or what holidays do we have off? Let's face it, I mean, HR teams are awesome. They're patient, they're knowledgeable, and they generally can answer your question in fairly short order. That's if they're not on PTO or it's after hours and you need a quick answer to your question. And then let's not even get started about how busy they are when open enrollment season hits. A 2022 Gartner report tells us that 30 to 40% of the time spent by HR teams are addressing employees' inquiries. That's right, 30 to 40% of their time. Now just imagine, bear with me here. If employees could actually get instant answers to important information without bogging down their HR teams, and the employee experience could actually be enhanced. They could receive answers that are personalized to them and their questions. Think it's possible? Well, that's where AI steps in. So we're going to dive in and see how AI can give time back to your HR team and give personalized answers back to your employees. Now, if you have questions during this demonstration, please add them to the chat and we'll get to as many of them as possible after the demo. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Jeff Tyree. Jeff is an engineer and AI expert for the Expedient team. He's going to discuss this use case with you today and answer any questions once we're done. Jeff, take it away.
Thanks, Ryan, and welcome everyone, and thank you for your time today. I know it's busy. My name is Jeff Tyree, and I am an AI data platform engineer here at Expedient, and I'm excited to show you how businesses are adopting AI. We're asked all the time, how can I use AI in business to achieve the performance gains I keep hearing about? To help you answer that, I'll start by saying AI works best when it knows about you and your role, and it has access to your data. Once that data connection is made, companies gain the ability to not only find information, but transform their documents into interactive knowledge bases. With AI, business users can have conversations with their data and engage with it in completely new ways. Today, we'll demonstrate this transformation using an HR scenario, a new employee navigating health plan options through our intelligent conversations with AI. But first, let me give you a high-level overview of Expedient's AI control platform and how we connect to your data. So let me begin first by saying that in the chat UI, you have the main area right here, and here is where you enter in your questions or your prompts to interact with AI. And then on the left, these are all of your past conversations that you can see and access. You can go back to a conversation and then continue with it. At the top of the header bar here, one important feature is this right here. This is where you set your personal prompt. This is the default system prompt. And what you're trying to do here is give the AI a brief description about who you are, what your role is, maybe your strengths and weaknesses, your preferred communication styles, anything that gives the AI context. Because when you do that, when you say things like, what your job is and how you prefer to communicate, it will then tailor that information back to you. So this area here is very important. For each of the conversations, AI Control has what's called a multi-model feature. And to access all of the models, you go right here. And this is where you'll see all of the models available. Because the thing about AI is that you don't always want to use the same model for every task. Some models simply just perform better. And then also there's always sort of newer models that are coming onto the scene. Sometimes maybe you just want to test between models as well. So, you can use the general model, which works great, which is GPT 4.1. This is the Claude 4 Sonnet. It's a new model. It's perfect for coding and reasoning. There's a HIPAA compliant model. There's the new image generation model from OpenAI. And there's a lot of other models too, models built for searching the web. And also we have the Gemini 2.5 Pro model right here. This is really a great model when you need to put in a lot of information. It offers one of the largest context windows. So that's the models. So now that you understand the models that you have access to, it's now time to show you how you connect the models to your data. Right here in the window, you can certainly just chat with any of the models, and that's just having a conversation, asking questions. And when you do that, you're interfacing with that model's knowledge and training. But what if you want the model to know more about your business, more about your data? That's where the data connections come in. So this is one of the data connections that is available. This is the SharePoint connection. And here you can see in this demo, there are files that are put into this folder, and this acts as an ingress point into the vector database. So how it works is you set up a data connection, you manage the repository, and then any files that are in this data connection will flow into AI control and be accessible. Once your data is connected, this is what we call RAG, or retrieval augmented generation. But think of it simply as creating an intelligent agent that knows your organization's content. Users don't just search for information anymore, they interact with it in completely new ways. This transforms static corporate documents into dynamic, intelligent agents. Imagine turning your entire knowledge base into subject matter experts that's available 24/7, and they never get tired and can instantly connect dots across hundreds of pages of documentation. So let me show you now how exactly this looks like and what a real world scenario is. So this is how you access the agent feature. You click on the change conversation settings, and then you enable the knowledge source. I'm going to select it to just return one document. You press save. And now any of your conversations are connecting with the knowledge that's in the SharePoint directory. I'm working now in our sandbox environment. In order to conduct this demo, I can see the available data sources. They are right here. And I'm going to select the Expedient Partners Enablement data source. And this is the data source which contains all of our demo mock HR benefits data. And also for any partners watching, you can access this mock data and repeat this demo experience. Okay, I'm going to do now sort of like a role play as a new Syracuse University employee who needs help with benefit enrollments. So I've already activated this agent, and I'm going to enter in the first question, which is, I just got hired at Syracuse University, and I'm overwhelmed by this benefits package. I need to pick a health plan, and I don't know where to start. So that could be a potential first sort of starting point for a new employee. So it's submitting the response now. And the response is coming back. And there's just a few things to show you. You'll see here, this is the document chip that gets returned. A user can always inspect it. They can see the source of the document. They can even open it up. Now, obviously, this is important so you can check the source of the data that's being formulated from this response right here. And it allows you to say, download the document or examine it further. So that was the first question, and you can see the response here. And the first thing to notice is that the agent understood the context of what's being asked. I mentioned that I needed help with benefits, and the agent automatically drew from the Syracuse benefit guide. So in other words, I just said I needed help with benefits or many other documents, but it knew which document to select. So this demonstrates a key value that the agent provides. Users don't need to know which specific document contains their answer. They simply describe what they're looking for, and the agent understood their intent and retrieves the right knowledge. In this case, the agent immediately provides helpful guidance by drawing from the actual benefits document and asking relevant follow-up questions. So you can see how the agent understood that the user, myself, said, I don't know where to start. So it gave a follow-up of saying, hey, could you provide a little bit more information about your household and your needs? So I'm going to reply with this response right here, which is, I'm married with 2 children, ages 8 and 14. My wife is diabetic and takes insulin. Please show me all my health plan options and what they've cost for my family. So you can see here that the response is based now off of the tailored information that the user had entered. And then it's also came back with the actual plan data from the medical benefits guide. You can see here how it listed that it's employee plus the spouse and the children, and it gives the plans here as well. And it's tailoring the information. I had said earlier that my wife is diabetic, and now in this tailored response, you can see that it's fitting the response to this new information. So continuing with this conversation, I could say something like, so let's say my family experiences $3,000 in medical costs. What do I pay for each plan, including monthly premiums? And what I'm doing is basically working with the agent to do likely scenarios, and it is engaging with me with these scenarios and tailoring the information according to it. So you can see here, for example, that it's applying it to all 3 of the plans that are available, the SU Blue, the SU Orange, and the SU Pro. And it's explaining what the total cost would be given the scenarios that I had given. So I could reply with this follow-up, which is, since my wife needs insulin, walk me through the prescription cost for each plan. And now the response is coming back. And here the conversation has shifted a little from the conversation, which was the default conversation about the different medical plans, the monthly premiums, the out-of-pocket maximums, and now it's talking about a different part of the document, which is the prescription plan information. So the great thing about interacting with data and talking to data with AI is that you can expose the unknown. A great strategy that users can do is just to simply say, hey, what should I know about this document? And you point out to me maybe something that I'm overlooking. So here I've done that. And I asked the question, what other benefits should I know about? Once again, the conversation is now taking a turn. We're changing the subject just a bit. Now it's exposing all of the different information beyond just the medical healthcare plans and the prescription information, and it's providing other benefit information that's within this document. So one of the best things about having AI conversations with documents is that not only can you ask questions, get information back, information that's tailored to you and your needs, but there's also this notion of taking that conversation and either summarizing it or transforming it into some way. And this is what I've done here. This is where I said, can you help me write an email to my wife that summarizes our options so that we can make a decision tonight? So here it's taking all of the information that was found in this conversation and then transforming it into a quick and simple email, which then I could just paste and or copy and paste. And it's awesome. This is what's really great here. It's showing you in the summary where you can find the information, because once again, it understands that we are going to be making a decision tonight. We're going to be reviewing the information, And so it provided the information in the guide on how to fact check it. Oh, and I like the nice touch that it added at the end. Let's review and talk tonight so I can enroll us before the deadline. Love, Jeff. That's great. So you can see how in just a few minutes, the agent turned a complex and overwhelming task into a clear, guided conversation. It surfaced personalized health plan options. It modeled real world costs, explained prescription coverage, and it even drafted an email tailored for family decision making. AI control with intelligent agent capabilities transforms how employees access organizational knowledge. What we just demonstrated with medical benefits is just one example. Imagine the same conversation applied to 401k matching, PTO policies, expense reimbursements, payroll schedules, holiday calendars, any knowledge your employees need. And that's just HR. These same agent capabilities extend across departments, from IT support and sales enablement to compliance, training, and beyond. Okay, so that's it for me. This concludes the demo. I wanted to say thank you again, and now I will hand it back to Ryan.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. That was great. Really appreciate that demo. It was very insightful. And before we get into our questions, we did have another individual from the Expedient team joining us, and that is the head of the AI platform, the subject matter expert in this area, Tom Cooper. Really appreciate him here today to help answer some of these questions. So going to the questions that we did have quite a few questions. And if you do have a question, please feel free to put it in as we have some time here dedicated to answer these. So the first question is, would employees have to go to this Expedient interface or to ask their question, or can this be white labeled somehow?
Yeah, so you would have to go to an Expedient interface, which we host on behalf of you and your clients, but it's branded to your URL, so it can be hosted on your main domain. And then we offer the ability to customize kind of the logos, the images, so you do have that basic white label experience, so it feels like your app rather than ours.
Perfect. Thanks, Tom. Another question, are the AI models hosted by Expedient, or is Expedient reaching out to Google, OpenAI, Anthropic for these requests?
Well, for all of the flagship models, we're reaching out to the providers to make the request. So the way we really handle flagship models, so OpenAI, Anthropic, Gemini, Perplexity, we maintain security with them and privacy permissions with them so that they cannot train on data, they cannot store data. And really what that allows you to do is use the flagship models the same way you would a private model, so that you can actually pass your data into those models, and you get the benefit of the cost and the speed and the scale of using the public models, but the same type of privacy that you would get on a private model.
Great. Thanks, Tom. And then a few other questions we have that are more specific to the demo use case. So obviously capturing this data, how does the AI ensure answers are accurate and based on our specific HR documents rather than just generic internet results?
So once you've connected and you're doing a enterprise search, you're targeting a specific repository, and the data from that repository ahead of time has been processed. It's been vectorized. It's a heavily technical term. Basically, it converts all of your documents to the math that the same type of math that AI models were trained on. So when you ask a question, the very first thing, if you're asking it, let's say of the HR repository, like you saw there, was to limit the access to say, instead of letting the model generate answers from the internet. First, let's go see if there's an answer inside of the repository that matches semantically to the question that was asked. It's not just a keyword search. It's not just a plain text search. It's actual semantic meaning. So let's use NLP. Let's see if something inside of the repository answers this question. And then if so, it provides the answer back.
Okay, so kind of a piggyback to that question and answer is what about when there's change within that data? Like if HR policies change, how quickly can the AI be updated with this new information?
That's scalable like most other solutions. We typically do that nightly just so that you don't catch documents in the middle of being editing, but the actual sync, the actual frequency is up to the client and up to the repository. If you have some legal data that needs to stay up to the date, we can pull it as fast as by the minute or by the hour. But most use cases are 24 hours.
Okay, thanks, Tom. And another question that we have is, can this AI handle sensitive employee information in a HIPAA compliant or privacy compliant way?
So it can. I mean, again, when it comes down to HIPAA compliance, making sure that you as a company, and really any compliance concern, that you as a company are following your regulations and your standards that were set by the regulatory body is still up to the company. But passing that data to a HIPAA compliant model is 100% capable through our system so that you can use our system with HIPAA compliant data. And then pure, regulations, whether you're talking about SOC 2 compliance, CAMP compliance, GXP, all of those, we meet the criteria for auditing and logging on the observability side so that you can use any of the models really in confidence and know that you're going to be able to answer any of the regulatory questions that come about.
Okay, great. And then here's a question that it's something that gets me because obviously when you're accessing HR information, I want to make sure that like I work with Tom and Jeff, they're not going in there finding out what my W-2 was. So how do we control which employees can access which types of HR information through AI?
So there are two ways to really break this down. So we'll answer the exact question second. The first way is when you look at something like HR data, the HR data we're talking about today, this is usually universally accessible by the company, right? So you're talking about what are our benefits plans, what are our days off, what are pay days. You're not talking about specifics about the user, and you can be incredibly wide open with the permissions on that, right? So anybody in my company can access this data and can get answers quickly. This is the same as emailing somebody in HR, but you get the answer back immediately and you don't waste somebody's time. On the opposite side, if you move to data where uh, important information or important files and their permissions become important for who can pull data out. Our system does that from the top end with a configuration flag. Underneath the hood, it's called DLS, but really it's just applying file permissions or RBAC to every one of the files. And by design, if you ask for the repository to be secured, we automatically pull all of those permissions with no configuration into the repository search, and it's used as a filter to make sure that no person searching that repository has access to any data that they did not have access to with their file or with their group or user level permissions.
Okay, great. And another question, can you query more than one AI data connector at one time?
Yeah, absolutely you can. So you can choose as many repositories as you'd like to search across. You're typically limited to getting 3 results back. And you can configure that to just 1 result. So the more repositories that you add, the more information you're giving AI to look at. It's a double-edged sword. On one side, it's amazing because it gives AI and the search access to find the right document. But on the other side, if you have a specific repo, like let's say HR, and then you're connecting the marketing data, but you happen to sell an HR product. Well, now you're getting to a place where what semantically matches your question better gets more difficult. But functionally, and depending on the use case, one of the best benefits we have is the ability to query across multiple repositories.
Great. Now, just for those who haven't put a question in yet, we have a little over 2.5 minutes left in this webinar today, so we still have time for more. We did have another question though, Tom or Jeff. Can the AI walk an employee through a multi-step decision, like comparing health plans based on their family's needs?
Yeah, absolutely. So, by not only taking the data that you have and then taking data that maybe represents your wife's plans, your husband's plans, your significant other's plans, and comparing that, and I'm going to use this just again as an example, really tied to kind of what we demoed today. You could 100% interact with the agent in a way where interact with a model in a way where it's behaving as an agent, and it can turn to interactive mode. You can ask it to look at specific things. You can tell it to ask you questions. And suddenly you go from what is an enhanced web search to what is more of an enhanced assistant or agent. And I know the word agent's overused a lot right now in AI, but it really, with just a simple little bit of prompting, you can turn any AI prompt into interactive.
Perfect. Okay, we've got the last question. Any of those we don't answer, we will follow up directly after this webinar today. But what types of HR questions tend to see the biggest time savings once AI is implemented?
I mean that's a huge that's a huge open question. I think that right off of the bat, the standard kind of questions that during onboarding, during training, and maybe during the first year that come down to what type of coverage do we have? What type of open enrollment do we have? What is actually covered under our plans? Do we cover pets? All of these questions drive the amount of hours that HR takes investing into responding to emails, and dramatically lowers them by almost eliminating the entire, maybe uh, initial 50% of non-complex questions. So it's one of the unique solutions where just turning it on and giving some instructions on users how to do it not only save a bunch of time for the HR team, but the experience and the turnaround time that happens on a user who's querying it just is tremendously higher. It's a much better user experience.
Great. Well, Jeff, Tom, thanks so much for your time today. For those of you whose questions we weren't able to answer, we will follow up with you with answers to those questions. And also just to remind you, this is an ongoing series. So please tune in next week where we will cover how to supercharge your sales call with AI-powered planning. So essentially this will cover how AI tools can help research prospects, suggest discovery questions, and equip your sales teams for successful personalized conversations. So that will be next Friday, August 22nd, same time at 12:30 p.m. We appreciate everyone for joining us today, and we look forward for you to come join us next week at 12:30 on Friday, August 22nd. Take care.